Most business advice tells you how to get customers to love you, how to get them to follow you, how to get them to buy from you and to admire you. But I'm going to tell you the opposite. The secret isn't getting love, it's giving love. In episode 8, I talked about the one thing from Gary Keller, how as business owners, we really want to focus in on one thing and let all the other distractions and all these other, by trying to do everything that we're not succeeding at doing anything. And so how do we eliminate some of these distractions? And then I was reminded of this Bible verse, Galatians 5:14. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command, love your neighbor as yourself. Now, how do these two relate? First of all, this idea that the entire Bible, which is this huge book, everything that's in there can be summarized in one thing. So if you want to obey the Bible, simply by loving your neighbor and doing this love, you're fulfilling everything that the Bible says. And I think this really applies to business owners as well, because we really want to figure out one thing to focus on so that we aren't trying to do everything. And I believe that love is also an answer for business owners. That may sound a little strange. Usually with businesses, we don't talk about love. But if you are overwhelmed by everything you need to do and you focus on just this one thing, love, I believe that it can fix most of the problems in your business. And I'm going to show you that today. Love is one of the most strategic things you can implement in your business and is probably the most important way to guarantee that your business will be profitable. Welcome to Mastering Business Flow, the essential podcast for business owners ready to transform their work life. I'm your host, Cords Lundow, a certified productivity and systems expert. I'll help you close that critical CEO gap, the gap between working hard and having real control over your business. We dive into the systems and skills of high-performing CEOs so that you can stop being stuck in daily tasks and start flourishing today. It's time to achieve simpler, higher quality living. Let's start flowing. The framework that I try to help most business owners with is flow, because flow is that optimal state that we live in. I think I talk about this in episode 1 and 2. I'll put the links in the show notes. Flow is where you are working at your best. Also with the business, you have eliminated friction points, so things are going smoothly. You've got systems in place, and this is really our goal because, again, this is the optimal. We are putting in our, with the least amount of effort, getting the best results back. And this is where we want our business to go. Now, how does love fit in here? I made a framework taking each of these letters, and the second letter is love. And, it doesn't matter which letter it is. All of these aspects go together to find flow. But the reason I put love in there is because, and I do think in some ways it could be the most important. So with love, what do I mean? Well, I draw this as kind of a heart because, that's a symbol for love. And it is set up as concentric circles, except they're concentric hearts. I'll have, you can see this graphic here if you are online. Otherwise, I will put it in my show notes on my webpage. But essentially what you've got are these concentric circles. And in the middle is yourself. You have to start with love of yourself. This is self-compassion we hear about a lot. Not, being hard on yourself does not get you to achieve more. It's actually being compassionate with your mistakes. It empowers you to take on more risk, to be okay with those mistakes and to learn from them and to improve from them. So it's very important that we start with self-love. It enables you to take the risk that you need to run your business. And then from there we go out. On one side, we have our personal relationships, and on the other side, we have our professional relationships. We often don't think of the personal relationships when we were building a business, but I talked about that in, I believe it was the last episode 12. I put the link in the show notes as well. But because these personal relationships actually give us our motivation and our fuel for running our business. So we don't want to ignore those personal relationships. And a lot of times as business owners, we do try to put those to last. We're like, okay, I've got to get this going and then I'll have time for those relationships. But we need to be prioritizing those from the beginning. Actually, I can tell you about all these different relationships. There's lots of strategies for all of them. But the main point I have for you today is that you are in the center. You're going to be the most important relationship to protect. And then there's these circles or hearts, as I have, going outwards. The ones in the middle are the ones that are the most intimate relationships. So think for your personal relationships would be maybe your spouse, your children, your parents, maybe. And with your professional is probably your employees. These are the ones that you deal with the most, probably dealing with them every day. They really know you very well. And this is usually who we focus on, right? We see these people every day. They're top of mind. And we know how important these relationships are because we know that that goes wrong, it is going to affect our whole life. However, as we go out of the center, the further out we go, the less we know those people and usually the less we care about them. But if I go back to that Bible verse, it's basically telling us to love these people on the outside of our circle, those who are far away from us. I mean, there's some other Bible one about showing love to strangers, basically, that it's our enemies, that it's easy to care for the people that love you and reciprocate. But really, the true test is when you love those people that are at the extremities. And there's actually been a lot of research to show how we can benefit from loving on the people that are further out, further extended. And I think this as a business owner is a very important relationship to consider. Again, I can talk about all of these and those will be in other podcast episodes. But what we want to focus on today is how do we, as a business owner, focus on loving those strangers? That's what we're going to talk about. The know, like, and trust factor is essentially a framework for how we're going to love strangers. And loving strangers is essentially marketing, if you really think about it. Because when we put those strangers top of mind and think of them and focus on them and their needs, we are going to serve them through our business. So let's talk about each of those factors, the know, like, and trust, how we could do that for strangers and how that loves. To know, we want to know them and we want them to know us. Part of that is being consistent, showing up, being there, right? This is a way that we show love for the strangers in our community, those that could buy our products from us. This could be your social media presence, just by being out there. This is obviously some value, which I talked about in another episode as well. By being there, showing up, providing the value, they're getting to know you and you are helping them and serving them. It's also being in networking, personal events. And the idea is that it's not about, hey, everybody look at me, but you're being there when they need help, when they have questions, showing up and being responsive to them. Then you're top of mind. And when they have the problem, they know who to go to. They've seen it. They see your solutions and you're helping them just by the content you're producing, just by your presence. So that's part of the know and how you show the love to strangers. Like is another one. Now, one of the key things we talk about with like is for someone to like you, they need to have some sort of personal connection. And if you show yourself to be too perfect, they don't feel that they can connect with you in the same way. So this is what we talk about with being authentic, like what Brene Brown talks with. You are kind of bearing your soul in a way. Now, there is a limit, right? Amy Porterfield talks about only talk about your scabs, not your open wounds kind of a thing, or your scars, sorry, not your scabs, talk about your scars. So the idea is that if it's really raw and you haven't healed from it, it may not be time to talk about it. But for people to like you, when you talk about the struggles you've had, even just talking about your daily life, that helps them to like you and to relate to you as a real person. And that way you can attract people to who you are and what you have to offer. Another term for this is scruffy hospitality. This came from a pastor who used to put together a perfect house to entertain people and then realized all the stress that that was under and started just letting people come over to his house without, going through all these special efforts and his whole checklist of preparing his house for them to come over. And what happened was that he showed up then as a more genuine person. He showed his flaws and it made his guests actually feel more comfortable. When you show up completely perfectly, then your guests and other people think, well, I can't relate to them. They'll be judging me. They won't understand me. But if you show that you have also struggled with things, It's going to let them open up. It makes them feel safe. And this is essentially what we're talking about with psychological safety, right? You're creating for other people the opportunity to connect with you, and you're showing them that it's okay not to have it all put together. We don't need to prove that we do. And so just by showing some of our mistakes, our flaws, who we really are, not just projecting this perfect image, that's one way that we can show love to strangers. Not that they can put us up on this pedestal that we've achieved it all. So that's the know, the like. Trust is the other aspect. Trust comes from a true spirit of generosity and serving. And this is huge because, and I will do a whole nother episode on the trust equation, but the key thing here is that to maintain trust, people have to believe that you are not self-seeking. If you appear to be in any way that you're after your own motive. So for example, if you're trying to sell something, if they think they're just trying to get me somehow, they want to push something on me, some product, they're going to have some barriers go out and they're going to lose some trust in you. But if you're putting them first and their needs first and really being generous without asking anything in return, you will increase the trust that they have for you. Alex Hormozi talks about give before you ask. I don't know, he says something like 5 times. That we are not out there asking people for things. We need to be giving value before we, and many times before we ever ask. In fact, I think he even says, give value so much that they just start asking you for help instead of you asking. So this is the idea of trust, and how we show love to strangers is just by providing so much of that value. And this is why, for myself, I give away 90% of my content. I mean, and Alex Hormozi talks about that as well. But that all this content's out there for free. Obviously, anybody can find any information that I talk about, that almost any person out there talks about. You can find that information. You know the topics that I talk about. You can solve the problem on your own if you want. However, if you want help, you would come to me. So for example, I'm talking about how to get this flow, how to get this kind of ideal state where things are humming along. And as a business owner, you can do all the research that I did. You can spend the years studying psychology and systems and all of that stuff. You can do it yourself. However, if you want to fast track and learn from my experience, you can hire me to help you and guide you step by step, because too often we don't take those actions on our own. So it's fine to give away all my secrets or whatever for free. There are no real secrets. I mean, especially these days with AI, you can just look everything up. So I'm going to share as much as I can. And if you want help with it, I can help guide you. And one of the key things is to help you focus on just one thing at a time, because it is overwhelming, the number of things that we could do to improve ourselves. The other way you can help with the trust factor and showing love is just being open and transparent. That is a way to have love. When you seem to be holding back information that other people don't have access to, then they start to not trust you because the balance is unequal. So by sharing the information, and this could be my pricing, my offers, anything like that, is information that I could be holding back from you. So if you do a sales call and you wait to tell them the price at the end, you're holding back information. All mine are up on my website. You can see them at any time. It's up there so you can decide and you can feel comfortable. You know, I'm not trying to get you or pull something over on you or bait and switch or whatever. So that's the know, like, and trust is essentially a framework to show you how you can love strangers. And by loving strangers in this way, by putting in that know, like, and trust factor, this is the key thing you can do to attract people to your business. The other thing that worked for me is this mindset shift. You've been following kind of business entrepreneurial improvement for any amount of time. You'll see that 90% of it is really about your mindset and the shifts that you need to make. And for many years, and I talked about this in episode 10, I was a teacher, even though many people in my family own their own businesses, and just about everybody except for me was a business owner in my family. I thought business was self-serving and evil in some way. And so I had a lot of barriers to overcome with that. I was anti-selling. And through my experience, I have learned that selling is actually a way. First of all, it's something I always did as a teacher because you're moving people to action in some way, but it's also a way I'm trying to convince them of the idea and I'm helping them to take on the solution. If someone comes to me, they have a problem that they're looking to solve, right? And by selling it to them, by telling them what I have to offer and helping them to make that decision, I'm helping them to make the change that they really want. And often we're very scared of change and we don't make those steps. So when I start to think of sales as a way that I'm selling and that it's something that I'm always doing, it makes me feel much less icky about the whole thing. It's that mindset shift. Instead of thinking I'm pushing something on people, I realize that I'm helping people. I'm also not offended if if they say no to me. But the key is that even when I'm talking to them and when I'm talking to the public, I want to focus on them, not on me. That's what true serving is rather than selling. I'm looking at what are the issues and the struggles that they have. How can I help them with that? How can I address them with that? And of course, I see that with people I meet all over the place. But instead of me thinking about how can I sell this person? How can I get them to buy my product? I want to think about what are the issues that they're going through and how can I help them with that? And again, I've been reading Alex Hormozy a lot lately, so his stuff is close to my mind. He has this concept that closers care and that the person that you're talking to, or whoever cares the most about the prospect wins the sale, is what he says. So if you care more about their success than they do, they will buy from you. And this is the thing, is really focusing on their success, what they can achieve, rather than will they buy from me? And that's what I really want to help people do, right? I have this vision of what business owners can achieve in their life, of this, a business that is running basically on automatic, that they are able to get joy out of that business, that it's not, sucking away 50, 60 hours of their week because, they started this business because they had a vision of a better life, but instead it's just sucking them into this daily grind, but it doesn't have to be that way. And that's what bothers me, is that so many people think that they just get stuck in this grind. They'll stay there and that's fine, that one day it'll get past all this grind. And that's not true. There are differences they can make today, setting up these systems and these automations that help their business to run with less work from them, but also more joy because they're able to focus on what they like about the business. And that's what I try to help people do. I want them to have a more joyful, meaningful, fulfilling life rather than feeling like they're stuck in this grind all the time. In episode 12, I do talk about how this is a benefit when we go out and help people. We actually feel happier. And this is a really important thing to think about, because we go into this business because we're seeking some kind of joy, some sort of fulfillment. And if we really focus on helping the others, we're going to feel more fulfillment than if we're just thinking about, I've got to get the sale, I got to get more money. And that's self-centered. If you can't see me, I'm sorry, but like when you're focused all on yourself, you kind of closed in, your heart feels, it's just more of a feeling. I don't know how else to describe it very well, but everything is kind of closed up and tight, and it's a more stress type situation. And instead, when you're focused on others, it shifts your perspective outwards and it kind of opens up everything. And as you open up, and even like picking up your eyes and looking up outside, this actually helps you to tap into this feeling, but it fills you with warmth and happiness and joy. And this is what you want to do with your business too. Instead of focusing just on, oh my gosh, I've got to get this sale, I've got to get this sale, you're focused on, how can I help this people? Oh, I'm helping more and more people and I am serving them. And when you feel that, you feel more joy. Now, the thing is, obviously, we're like, okay, I'm in this business because I want to make money, not just to be happy. Although, why do you want the money? You think it's going to be you happy anyway, this vicious cycle. But my point is, if you feel this happiness, you're actually going to bring more business, because, and this is what I talked about in episode 12, when you feel happier, you work better, you think better, your brain wave is in a different pattern. The other thing is, people want to work with happy people, not stressed, upset people. So if you can kind of find that joy, then they're going to be like, oh, I want to work with them. I want more of what they have, because everybody wants more of that feeling. That's what we're all going for, right? So now we've got this happy loop, right? You are helping people. It makes you happier. When you're happier, you think better, you work on the business, you attract more people. And then because of that, you're even feeling more happier. So it's a good spiral. But when you're just focused on, I've got to get this money, I've got to get all these tasks done, that was bringing that closed in. If you're watching the video, you can see I'm very much talking with my hands on my body. But when you're focused in on just making the money, you're closing in and you're not feeling that joy. And it also then serves to repel people and affects that trust factor. So in sum, the one thing that's most important for your business is love. And if you focus on love, and I truly believe that if you focus on this more than anything else, your business will be profitable and sustainable, and you will enjoy it more. However, I do think you need some of these other aspects to truly reach your kind of optimal state. So the other parts of flow are the focus, your operations, and well-being. There's the well-being, the healthy organization, as well as for yourself, because, you got to put your own mask on before you put it on for everybody else. But all of these together, that's why when I do my flow, there are 4 circles that are interconnected. We need all of these, but I really believe that love is the most important. I really help you with that focus and the systems, but I know that a lot of those focus and those systems have to be organized around love. Because if you don't have systems and a focus on love, your business will fizzle out. If you have just a strategic plan and you have no view of love and how you're going to reach out to strangers and put other people first and serve them, your business will not be able to succeed. I don't care how much focus and how much systems you have in place. This is the most important. And the thing is, we can overcomplicate everything. I know I've done it a million times. I make all sorts of lists and to-dos and all this kind of stuff. But in the end, you can simplify it if you just think about, how can I love the public more? How can I serve them more? How can I love my customers more? How can I love my employees more? By focusing on those, you are going to do better with your business and you're going to feel happier than worrying about everything else. However, if you are wanting to put those systems in place, you know who to call. I will help you with it. But I have a specific challenge for you to help you put this love in action. I want you to try the $1 million rule. I heard Mel Robbins talk about a video she'd seen on YouTube of Terry Crews talking about, I think that's his name, I'll have to correct that in show notes if it isn't, how when he was looking for jobs and he didn't have any, he ended up taking a job sweeping floors. And he told himself, how could I do this as if someone were paying me $1 million for it? And just went above and beyond with everything he did. And so it changed his whole attitude. And so then it wasn't about this crappy job, I'm doing horrible work and I'm getting paid nothing for it, because it's true. That was the job that he was doing, but he changed his mindset and he saw it as, he told himself he was getting $1 million for it, but it put him in the idea of service, because if someone were paying you $1 million for whatever job it is that you're doing, for say, if someone's paying me $1 million for this podcast, okay, well, obviously I didn't do a good enough job with this to say someone's paying me $1 million for it, but that is some advice I should take for myself. But if you think about interacting with people as if they were paying you $1 million, you would give it your best. And that's what we want to do. That's how we truly show love to other people. You can answer the email with that level of love and care, not just some curt response that, doesn't show any empathy for them. If you want to take advantage of some of my free love here, I do have an email course that every week you get one tip of something to focus on to grow your business. So it's just one thing at a time. You don't get overwhelmed. I will put the link in the show notes. It's at cordslindau.com. So check out the show notes to find that link. And thank you for listening.